Hi everyone, I'm Matt Lauer, and thanks for staying up later. Bob Costas has the week off. Imagine someone walks up to you and hands you the keys to a $200,000 Ferrari and says, take a spin. You'd probably smile and sweat, not necessarily in that order. Now imagine you're a Hollywood director and a producer walks up to you and hands you the reins to a $60 million movie featuring one of the biggest stars in Hollywood. Well, that is the responsibility that our guest tonight has been living with for the past several years. He's Renny Harlin. His new movie is a blockbuster. It's called Cliffhanger, and it stars Sylvester Stallone. Renny Harlin, nice to have you here.
Thank you very much.
Welcome to Later.
Thank you.
I was going to call you action director, Renny Harlin. Is that a label you embrace or dislike?
Well, I shouldn't bite the hand that feeds me, but I have to say that I hope that in the future, having made these action movies, these commercial movies, I hope that I'll have a chance also to do something very different, something a little more serious, something a little more sensitive, if I could say, so that I wouldn't look back in the end of my days and say, well, I entertained a lot of people, but that's all I did.
But you wouldn't blame people if they looked at Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4 and Die Hard 2 and now Cliffhanger and said, he's best known for action movies.
Oh, no, absolutely. These movies are designed to be roller coaster rides where you sit down, you grab your seat, you put your belt on, or you grab somebody next to you, even if you don't know them, and you go. That's the way they are meant to be. They are pure action.
People talk about the stunts, they talk about the effects. Where do the ideas for these effects come from? Nightmare on Elm Street, people are turning into bugs. Kids' heads are coming out of guys' chests. Where do you come up with these ideas?
Well, Nightmare on Elm Street was actually an interesting case because when we did the movie, there was a writer's strike, so we didn't really have a screenplay. So we just sat down and thought up all these ideas. And what helped me a lot was that I've had nightmares all my life. I have a really strange, wild imagination.
When you were growing up in Finland, movie buff, safe to say?
Absolutely.
What kinds of films?
Everything I could see. I started watching movies when I was 4 or 5 years old, and in Finland you have the same kind of a rating system that you have in America. So I developed this incredible skill of getting into the theaters through the back door, between the legs of the ushers. I mean, every possible way I could. I would hook up with some older people who were going into the theater and pretend that I was their child, and so on. I did everything to see movies, and I have to say I loved American movies. That was really a specialty of mine.
Who were your favorites, the directors?
Hitchcock, Howard Hawks, John Ford, then later on Coppola, Scorsese, and so on. Just the tradition of American movies, their storytelling, and so on. It really was closer to me than European cinema that sometimes it's sort of more poetic.
What clues to Hollywood did the films give you? Did you imagine what it would be like to try to make movies in the United States by viewing the films of Hitchcock?
Maybe so. I studied those films a lot, and I really used that then later on when I went to film school and when I started making commercials in Finland. I used that way of visual storytelling. When you have to make a 15-second movie about bread and butter, you really have to know how to make it effective, and to me it was really the best film school. What was funny when I came to America was to step into that world. It's sort of like now we are on this set of the TV show here. To me, Hollywood movies were a world of its own. And when I came to Hollywood, I realized that was the movie set where those movies had been created. I would sit in a diner and just look at the waiter and the uniform and look at the street signs. I took pictures of license plates because all of a sudden they said California and they were blue and yellow, just like in the movie.
Is this a movie-making thing or is this an American thing? You were just happy to be in America or happy to be in a place where movies were being made?
I was in a world that I had so far seen only in the movies, and I had thought that it's sort of like it's the reality of the movies, but then I realized that was America in very many ways. And it took me a long time to kind of figure out if I was in dreamland, if I was in reality, and I think it maybe helped me on the long run to be an outsider, because then observing this life that sometimes is quite surreal became a sort of a fun hobby for me, and I'm trying to then show some of that in my movies.
What made you pick up and leave Finland and take on Hollywood, where outsiders are not always treated that well?
It was really incredible stupidity, because now, having been inside the system for several years, I know how impossible it is to break into it, especially when you're a foreigner and you have a funny accent and you don't. I was just talking to somebody and they asked me, so how do you like Knicks? And I said, well, I don't follow baseball so much. So it's, you know, it really was a situation where I couldn't get movies made in Finland. They make about 7 movies a year, government finances them. And I wrote 12 screenplays after having done short films and documentaries and TV movies and studied film and dreamed about it. And they said no 12 times. They said my movies were too commercial. So I said, well, I better go somewhere where they can appreciate that. And I hooked up with my friend and we wrote a screenplay and put all our money into it.
How much money?
Well, the whole movie was budgeted for $1 million, and we maybe financed half of it with all our life savings, our homes. We took the money from our relatives, everything we could put together. And that way, I sort of took the first step, made a movie in Finland in English with some American actors.
What was it called?
Born American.
This is the one where the Americans go across into Russia.
Yes.
Then the Soviet Union and really wreak havoc.
Yeah, and it's interesting actually how times have changed. This movie was made about 7 years ago, and it was very controversial in Finland. It was the first time since 1931 when a movie has been banned for political reasons in Finland. And this was my first feature.
What was the reason?
They said that it was anti-Russian. And that was the time, you know, it was still the time of Cold War. We were not trying to be anti-Russian, but we thought, hey, there's Finland, there's Russia, we have a conflict there, you know, we put these kids going across the border, they end up in prison, very much sort of a Midnight Express type of a story. It could have been Turkey, it could have been Sweden, but it was Russia. So it was banned in Finland. There I was, you know, I had made my first feature, I'm Finnish, I was proud about it, and I can't even show it to my mom.
Immediate acceptance when you came with Born American?
No, I thought so I moved over. I didn't have much money, but I thought things will pick up real fast now. The movie was released, it came to the theaters, it went away, and I was sitting there waiting for the offers to come in. It took about 2 years and took me to a point where I was out of money, I was on the streets, I didn't have a home, no car, no money to buy a newspaper, no money to buy food. I can really relate to those people who carry signs, I will work for food, because I've been there just about 5 years ago, and it wasn't easy.
Why'd you stay?
I was stubborn. I was too embarrassed to go back. When I left Finland, everybody said, oh, he'll be back very soon. It's when you leave a small community like that, 5 million people, you're really sort of stepping over your boundaries. You're really doing something that is not normal, not accepted, and people were really ready to crucify me. And I was too embarrassed to go back. And I said that, you know, I'll rather die here as a beggar than go back there and be a loser.
Long way from Finland and the 10-year-old watching the Howard Hawks films.
Certainly, I've been very, very lucky. And I gotta say, you know, as naive as it sounds, America is the land of opportunity. And in terms of my life, I wake up every morning, I look out, I see the sunshine, no snowstorms, no rain like in Finland, and I'm very thankful.
Back now with director Renny Harlin. How did you go from the on the street, no money, no food, to Nightmare on Elm Street?
About 2 years later, after Born American, I was hired to do a little movie called Prison. It was produced by Irvin Yablans, who was famous for producing Halloween, and he was famous for discovering new talent. So he saw Born American, and he liked it, and he hired me to do Prison, and I did Prison, and that was another $1 million movie. And the companies that were involved went bankrupt, and the movie was never released. And just when I thought that I was almost reaching the American dream, it was taken away again, and I spent another almost a year doing nothing. Then the producers of the Nightmare on Elm Street series saw Prison, and they liked it, and they called me up, and I went there. They said, oh my God, this guy is from Finland. You know, he barely speaks English, and how could he understand American society and make a movie about essentially about the angst and pain of American teenagers.
And especially American teenagers, because that's kind of the cutting edge we tend to think of American society.
Yeah, so I had to take 5 meetings with them. They threw me out 4 times. They said, get out of here, you don't know what you're doing. And then 5th time I went there and I said, you know, you gotta let me do this. I'm an expert on nightmares. And then I think the fact that I was so persistent, and also there was the writer's strike, I think that helped me. And they thought, well, you know, we don't have anybody else and we got to make this movie, so we'll let him try.
What kind of pressure jumping in? It's the 4th Nightmare movie, The Dream Master. The rules have been established as to what Freddy is, and the money pattern has been established. These things are hits. They're making money.
Yeah. That put me under a lot of pressure, and also I analyzed the 3 previous films very carefully, and I said, you know, what I think we should do is get away from the sort of a horror scare genre, because, you know, people have seen these movies now 3 times. What are they going to think, that, you know, Freddy is not going to show up, or that it's really scary, or it's going to be surprising? That's not going to work. I think we have to take it more to a surreal level and make it more into a horror comedy and sort of a surreal adventure into one's mind. And so that's what we did, and it really worked. I really wanted to make Freddy into sort of a James Bond kind of a hero. And what happened was the movie opened in August 88, I guess, and it was the biggest independent movie ever. And overnight, that weekend when it opened, my life changed. On Monday, the phone started ringing, the script started piling up outside my doorstep, and I realized that I had...
Why? Why do you think Nightmare 4 took off the way it did? Was it the comedy that you put into it, the wisecracking Freddy?
I think it was the comedy and the, I guess it was the inventiveness of the nightmares and the special effects, that we really tried to take the audience on a ride where they never knew what to expect. It wasn't maybe so scary, but it was really strange.
If food don't kill you, the service will. The usual. My favorite.
No, come on, no!
Eeny, meeny, miny.
Come on, no! Don't let him do it!
Rick, you little meatball. I love soul food.
No! Stop!
Anecdotally, you had some trouble with Die Hard 2. It's a movie that takes place in the winter. You need snow. And guess what?
Well, I guess it's really famous for the snow problems we had. I mean, we traveled all around America and Canada chasing snow. We would get reports, you know, now in Denver there is snow. We'll get our 200, 300 member crew together, take our planes, take our equipment, trucks everywhere there, and when we arrive there's no snow. Actually, a funny thing happened. It wasn't very funny when we were doing it, but once I think we were in Colorado, and then we get a report that in Spokane, Washington, there's a sighting of snow. So we pack everything and we moved there, and I always remember how we landed at night. It was dark, but beautiful white snow everywhere on the ground. And we said, okay, this is it, now we're going to do it, and get the planes here, because the movie involved a lot of big airplanes, 747s and so on. Get them here, we're going to shoot in the morning. So we go to sleep happily. We shake each other's hands and take a drink and celebrate, and we go to sleep. In the morning I wake up and I wonder, what is this sound? It sounds like rain. And I go to the window and there's green grass as far as I can see, and it's raining. So we go to the airport where we're supposed to shoot these plane sequences, and there's not a trace of snow. So we do 2 things. We hire trucks to come in from who knows where, hundreds of miles north, to bring in snow. And we hire 300 school kids to come and in an educational manner cover the ground with these snow blankets. We have acres and acres of white sheets that will cover the ground and make it look like snow. We decide that we won't shoot until that evening. So we have trucks coming from the north, kids nailing down these snow blankets, acres and acres of white blankets, and then it's the evening, it's beautiful, the trucks arrive, the temperature is going down, it's getting cold, it's looking good. Well, the problem is the snow in the trucks has melted. They have turned into gigantic ice cubes, so we can't use that snow. And when we start the engines of the 747, we roll the cameras, the engines start, and all the snow blankets fly away. I mean, 5 acres of snow blankets flying through the air.
Finland was looking pretty good at that time, wasn't it?
Yes, and I thought it was looking like a very close choice for me.
You talk about your life changing. You have said in the past that you want to make movies that are going to change the world. They're going to make a difference to people. Movies with meaning. Nightmare is a huge hit. You admit the phone starts ringing. You could have stopped right then, Renny, and said, no more effects, no more action adventure. Now I'm going to make the socially conscious movies.
You're right, and I've been saying that now for about 5 years that I will do that. It's frightening because I've come from Finland from sort of nothing. I've been able to break into what my dream was to be here making movies, and I was very conscious about using these commercial movies as stepping stones in getting into the mainstream. Yet now I feel a little bit trapped. I feel like I can't leave this merry-go-round where I am. I want to make these successful pictures. Yet inside I feel that if later on I look back at these movies and they are all, you know, just commercial popcorn movies, I haven't really done much. I've been given a gift of entertaining people. I really should take the responsibility and also give them something to think about. I've been saying this for a long time, and now I'll make a promise here on air that next movie is going to do it. Now I'm on the level where hopefully the studios will listen to me and they'll believe that money can also be made while people think, and not only when they eat popcorn.
So before Cliffhanger 2, we're going to see something from you that's going to be a Renny Harlin movie.
My dinner with Andre with a food fight.
and people turning into insects.
Yes.
Back now with Renny Harlin. Cliffhanger. 4 years ago, admittedly, you're starving in Hollywood, and now you're working with Sylvester Stallone. One of the biggest box office draws in the history of movies. The rule's the same. You're the boss. He's the star.
Absolutely, and it's funny. I have to admit, when I think about my past in Finland, when I was studying film, when I was dreaming about making movies, there I'm watching Rocky and all these things, and really, Stallone is, no matter what people think about him, he's a cultural icon. He's part of our generation and our history, and here I'm directing him. I had to just really jump in the water, and what I did in the beginning was I sat down with him and I said, Sly, we're going to make a movie together, but under these circumstances. I'm directing it, you're acting in it, we'll work together, we'll both give and take, but when it comes to the time when we have to make decisions, I have to make the decisions, because I can't work in a situation where we are, you know, voting over things. And he said, that's exactly what I want to do. I like what you've done in the past. Direct me. Let's make a good movie. And from there on, we really had a great working relationship, a great friendship, mutual respect, and it was a funny, powerful feeling. Say, yo, Sly, action.
That's a great party line, but can you tell me that there weren't times you're in the middle of shooting and you make a call and he gives you that look and you say, maybe this is not right?
No, not at all. I mean, there were times where he said, Renny, do I really have to do this for the 18th time? Do I really have to climb up this mountain? And especially in terms of the altitude. I mean, we were shooting at 14,000 feet, and he has a fear of heights. So the first thing, actually, when this was a real testing part, when we got to the location, I said, you know, I want to show you the location. I took him up to the mountain, and he said, well, so what's this? I said, this is the location. This is where we're going to shoot it. He said, you got to be kidding. The highest I'm going to get is the heels of my cowboy boots, and that's it. And I had sort of predicted this, so I had been very clever. There were two mountain peaks there, maybe 6,000 feet to the ground, 500 feet apart, and there was a 1/8 of an inch wire between them. I had a harness on, I got on the wire, I got myself onto the wire and waved at Sly while the whole crew and the cast was watching. I said, hey, you want to try this, Sly? He looked around, everybody's there watching him. He said, yeah, okay, sure. And I got him into it, and he got a real kick out of that, and from there on, there were no problems.
Sarah! Oh, God! Sarah! Now! Sarah!
You're okay. You're gonna be okay. Can you reach the main line?
No, I can't.
Don't swing.
God, it's slipping.
Gabe, can you keep the line steady?
That clip's not gonna hold.
I can't. Gabe, help me, please. Gabe, you have to go after her.
No! Gabe, no!
Well, the Sarah coming out to get you.
No! It's not right for two people. Just keep it from swinging. I'm gonna sit on my harness.
Look, forget the harness. There's no time. I'm going for her.
Gabe! No!
Sarah, I'm coming for you.
I can't. Hold on, I'm slipping.
Hold on just a little bit longer. Coming for you.
Gabe, please hurry. I can't hold on.
Sarah, don't look down. Keep looking at me. That's it. Hold it.
Stop trying.
It's breaking. She's losing it.
Sarah!
I can't.
He'll have you in a second, baby! Come on! Please,
Hurry,
Sarah!
Gabe. You're almost there. You're almost there, Gabe. Keep going.
I'm here, Sarah. Sarah, I'm here.
I don't want to die.
Sarah! Reach up and grab him! Reach up!
Sarah, reach
Come
up.
on, honey! Use your other hand!
Reach up.
Reach up now!
Hold on, I got you.
As you know by now, the movie is a blockbuster. It's called Cliffhanger. It stars Sylvester Stallone. It was directed by Renny Harlin. Congratulations. Your next movie, While I'm Holding Your Hand, will be a movie
With meaning.
with meaning. You heard it here first. Bob is back next week. Thanks for joining us. I'll see you later.